What's up? It's Juice Beats, back again with another race video. And this is the Music City Crit Series race number 2. And this happened back on, I believe this was April 29th. So this was, a while ago. Yeah, I've been a little absent. I've been, busy with some other things going on and, other life events going on. So that's why I haven't posted as much content lately as I probably should have. But I haven't been racing quite as much this year as I had in the past. Like, at this point in this year, I'd probably had at least 10 races. But this is, I believe, only my 3rd race of the year. And yeah, I can definitely tell big difference. Coming into the season, I took a break after last season, after Gateway, and did no structured training. Just went out and rode on my own. Kept my base going pretty well, doing some endurance rides, and every once in a while I would challenge myself and stuff like that. So I wasn't thinking about structured training or anything. I was really just trying to just take my mind off things and just ride like normal, so I didn't have to think about it. And then when January came about, that's when I got back started, structured training and getting back into things, and was doing pretty well. My FTP was, I think, 10 watts higher than it was the previous year. The only problem is that over the winter, for some weird reason, I had gained a bunch of weight, and that really kind of affected me. So gaining the 10 extra watts on the FTP is great. If I'm still at the same weight I was last year for most of the season last year, but it seemed like for whatever reason that my weight was just climbing for no reason, and so I was having to deal with that, and I've been still kind of dealing with that, trying to get it back to where it was last year or even lower if possible. But it's hard when you're kind of in the middle of a season, and most people will tell you not to do that during the season, because you do lose your fitness a little bit as well when you're losing weight. But I'm trying to balance it all. I'm trying to do what I can, because I know this is a different level. So Cat 2 racing, from now on, it's a different level than it was last year. Last year I could do a 3-4 or a 2-3 race, and sometimes a P123. But now it's strictly the P12s or the P123 races, and so this is basically my home race. That's all I can do is this 1-hour race on Wednesdays, and so I drive out here and see what I can do. But like I said, going into the season, it was tough to get back to where I was, and one of the reasons why, and I think I talked about this in my other video, is that I had like a small sickness and a calf injury that kind of derailed everything. And I was looking back around those weeks and seeing, like, Strava keeps track of like your fitness and puts it into a number or whatever. And I was seeing like my high was in the 50s or something like that. And then right around that week, my fitness and training and everything had dropped to like 36. So there was something wrong. Definitely in that time period. I've been trying to gain it back ever since, and it seems like it's coming along, but it's very slow. And obviously, like, I'm older too, so that plays a part in it as well. Strength and recovery and all that stuff. All that to say, I'm not at where I was last year quite yet. And I keep talking about last year because last year was probably my best year ever in racing. I won 6 races last year, and pretty much dominated the MCC in the races that I did. So felt really good about that, and that's why I bring that up, because I'm basically going off of what I did last year, and obviously it's a different year into the Cat 2 races, and so I want to come out with a bang. I want to be able to do some of the things I did last year, and right now it's not possible with the weight gain and the weird training mishaps, I guess, that happened, or the missed trainings and stuff like that. So slowly getting back into it. But anyway, so we're going around the kidney bean here at the MCC, and we're only a few minutes into the race, and I'm struggling. We had some gaps open up here, and I'm struggling to get back on, and I need some help. There's Max, he's pushing to get back as well, and I feel like I'm doing a pretty good amount of watts, but it seems like I think my top end's there and my endurance is there, but looking over the data and stuff like that, my repeatability is not quite there, and that's what I think made me so strong last year, is because my repeatability was really strong. I could keep going at the high watts and sustain it, and then come back down, chill, and then go again, and that was a big difference for me last year. Like this year, I'm not seeing that quite yet. Like I'm able to put out some good watts and strength wise, but I'm just not able to repeat it as well right now, and I think that has to do with the weight gain and stuff like that. So I was putting some numbers into ChatGPT recently. just to get an idea of what the AI would tell me, as comparing races to races. So I put in like a last year's race and then a this year's race, and told them to kind of analyze the numbers and let me know like what's going on, and tell me, and basically that's what it told me. It told me that the repeatability is just not quite the same. And so that's what I'm gathering from all the information that I'm getting. Luckily, there was a little lull there, and I was able to catch back up onto the peloton here and stick back in. But I can tell just early on in this race that I was struggling to stay on wheels. And I was doing basically the same thing in that first MCC race. That one was a little bit tougher because it's around the 180 course, and of course when you go around that one, you're having to punch out of those 180 degree turns every single lap. This one, you can be a little bit more smooth. You're not having to punch quite as much, but in this P123 field, everybody is wanting to punish the other person on almost every lap, so they're basically attacking almost each lap because they can. And I would say that most of the stronger guys out here in the field, they are trying to break off into a breakaway. A lot of the riders out here, I've noticed, are pretty good and pretty strong at going on some breakaways, and so that seems to be the course, I guess, the way things are going for most of these races that I've done so far this year. Is a lot of the guys will try to break off and go on a breakaway, and instead of trying to make it a sprint towards the end. So that is kind of what I'm fighting against at the moment. I would consider myself more of a sprinter. I'm not a breakaway artist or anything like that. Maybe if I was able to lose the weight and get my repeatability back, I could potentially do that. I mean, last year we did go on a breakaway, but that was in the 3-4 field. This year, not quite sure that could happen. At least not right now. A lot of smaller guys with some big engines out here that can sustain a lot of watts out there out front. So it's a lot tougher for me. I've got to conserve my energy a little bit more. But the wattage, everything as far as numbers wise is there. It's just, you know, the other aspects of it off the bike that I got to put together. And it has been a different year for me as well. The kids have been doing more sports and getting into more activities outside of school and all that stuff. So it's been a little bit busier being a dad and all that. So all those extra curriculars and activities that I'm doing outside of cycling have taken a toll, I guess, on the training a little bit. But I feel like I'm slowly getting back into it. Like I can tell, you know, obviously this race was back in at the end of April, and I've done a few more since then. So I can kind of tell you future-wise that it does get a little bit better, but still not quite there yet, I guess. But anyway, I mean, at this point in the race, like, I'm trying to be efficient. I'm trying to stay in there, and, you know, I'm pushing out a lot of watts here, you know, hanging on to the Peloton at this point. We've been going a decent amount of time. You can see we're 11 minutes in here, and I've still got a good motor. And I remember this night in particular, it wasn't quite, you know, the warm weather that we're getting now here in June as I'm recording this, but we are, you know, kind of in that spring / still wants to be winter. So it was a little bit cooler on this night, I remember. I think towards the end of the race, you know, people were like putting on sleeves and stuff like that. So yeah, this one was not necessarily cold, at least for me, but maybe for some people it could be considered cold. That's usually better for me anyway. You know, the heat definitely takes away from your engine, I guess, throughout the race. It can take a toll on you a little bit. But when you're keeping things cool, it can help you kind of settle a little bit, keep your heart rate down as well. Over here, I know what I need to do. You know, I'm over here thinking that I need to move up. I need to, you know, stay within the top 10 wheels or whatever. But it's tougher than you think. You know, especially when you're not quite as in shape as you should be. It's tough to move up and stay in that position, and you know, they've got attacks and things going on at the front that you know, make things even tougher to push. So here I am. I think I'm dangling on the back here, and I always think, you know, in my head, like, oh, I'll be fine here on the back, but really you're not. You're sitting on the back, and you're dangling. You're putting out probably more watts than you should, because the surges at the front of the race are pretty big, and you're the last person to really feel that surge. So your reaction time is going to be a little bit slower than people towards the front, if that makes sense. So if you're dangling this far back on the Peloton like this, it's going to be hell on you, and you're not going to be very efficient, and that's what I can see. I mean, I already came out of that corner like over 1,000 watts. Now I'm putting down 400, 500 watts, trying to get back onto the back of the Peloton here. So I'm just not being very efficient here. And of course, I remember, you know, I'm hurting at this point as well too, so that doesn't help at all. But yeah, I remember thinking in my mind, like, I've got to move up, or else I'm gonna get spit out the back here. You know, that's part of crit racing, is, you know, being efficient. You know, you see these big numbers by some of these guys, and you think, oh, I need to hit that to be able to maybe win a race or you know, stay with the Peloton. But you really don't. Like, you don't have to hit huge watt numbers to be able to stay in there. I've done it before, obviously, but you have to be very efficient. You have to draft well. You have to make, you know, not dumb mistakes, like jumping on the front of the Peloton and pulling the Peloton with you, unless that's your role in your team. where you need to, pull back brakes or something like that. But for sprinters, usually you want to sit in and let your other teammates do their jobs, and then wait for that moment, 5 to 8 laps out from the end to look for moves or sit in as long as you can and make that have that energy left for that sprint later on in the race. But here we are, 16 minutes into the race. Sorry if I'm boring you, but this is kind of how my race was the entire time. Just kind of hanging on for dear life in the back, trying to stay with the group as much as possible. I think at the beginning of the season, my first race was Athens, which is, I knew I wasn't going to be ready for the 2-3 in that one. So, and plus, I could only leave in the morning to go do that race. So I knew that I would have to do like the Masters race in that one. And that one wasn't too bad. I just wasn't quite ready for it. I wasn't quite ready to sit in the peloton and all that stuff. So, this one, going into the MTC, I was just trying to see if I could finish the race. Basically, I just wanted to. That's kind of my goal, is just be able to go the full 60 minutes with the peloton, finish the race, and just see how I do, and then go from there. Because I know once I get to that point where I can finish the race, I know that I can do other things later on. But it's tough when you're not quite where you need to be or where you want to be. Somehow I caught back onto the peloton here, and I'm getting a little bit of a break. Here it is, only a few minutes later though, and I'm struggling again on the back of the peloton. Trying to stay. There's a little bit of a lull here. There's a little bit of a spread. People are looking around, and I just know that when that happens, it's a good time to move up, but it's also it's you're looking around because that's the time when somebody's definitely going to attack. They're going to push it, and really good racers in the P123 field are looking for those moments where the rest of the peloton's looking around. So really good racers, when the peloton does that, it usually means that everybody's kind of tired and they want a little bit of a rest, and that's the time. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling somewhat rested, that's the time to attack, and that's the time to really put a hurting on the rest of the field. And of course, that's what happens here. The pace got pushed. We had that little lull, and then the pace got pushed. We got strung out a little bit, and then here I am dangling on the back. The big gap opens up, and I can't close it here. And so, about 23 minutes or so into the race, I am dangling, trying to get back onto the back. They're just right there, but at this point, like the way they're going, 29 miles an hour going around here, and they're probably going like 30, 31 with the rest of the peloton. It's very tough to catch back on, especially doing over 400 watts and not being quite the shape that you want to be. Thought maybe I could catch on to his wheel, but he's moving at a different speed than I am right now. And this is what I was talking about early on in the video, is this, I just don't have that repeatability like I want. It takes me a little bit longer to I guess recover, to catch back up like I want to. So that's something that I'm working on in training, something that I just got to keep pushing. But I keep going back to that time in April where my fitness just like plummeted for some reason, and I don't know. I mean, you know, I'd say that it's the sickness and then the calf injury that happened, but it's weird. Like I've never had that happen before, where I've been sick. I even had COVID at one point during the season, and that didn't derail me as much as this did. So I don't know what kind of sickness it was. I say it was like a sinus infection, but it could have been something else. But I mean, it just completely derailed everything that I had, and so this is what I'm dealing with. Trying to get back to the fitness that I had after that. But, anyway, so that was kind of the end of my race. I did the full. They let me go the full hour, and I ended up just kind of doing my own pace going around here. I think I ended up maybe Eli with me. We rode around for a little bit as well into the race. We just kind of finished it out, but yeah, they let me roll around for the full hour. So I got my workout in that day, and I probably needed it as well anyway. So that was fun. But yeah, so that was my Music City Crits race number 2. And yeah, I'm hoping I'll get some more content out to you guys. I know I've been slow, been a little busy, doing other things, but I'm gonna try to get some more content out to you guys. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the content when I do post and when I do get it out there. If you don't mind, like and subscribe down below, and hit that bell icon so you know when I post new videos. But I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.